The war in Yemen continues to rage, threatening to starve millions of innocent people. And so it is continuing. The Saudi-led bombing campaign has already claimed the lives of tens of thousands of innocent civilians ever since it started. And on Tuesday, the president has continued to support our role in it. Now, Trump, it's being reported, vetoed bipartisan legislation that would have reduced and ended our role in that conflict. Now, speaking to reporters in a statement accompanying his veto, Trump said, "The resolution is an unnecessary, dangerous attempt to weaken my constitutional authority, endangering the lives of American citizens and brave service members both today and in the future." Now, wait a minute. How does it endanger us? For one, our service members aren't even in Yemen. And if they are, what the hell are they doing there? So they shouldn't be there. And I think there are a lot of people, there's a lot of people, progressives and others otherwise, that are not in favor of having our military assist in Yemen, especially when we're assisting on the side of Saudi Arabia. Now, again, going back to the question, why, how does us ending that endanger us at all? No, look, the president shouldn't be having the ability to go and provoke wars in the Middle East or in other places without a declaration of war. That's one of the powers that unfortunately Bush got and abused after 9/11, and President Obama had also received and abused. And so now Trump has it, and he's continuing to do these attacks and also support the Saudi regime. It's a terrible situation, and of course, look, it comes back to this complicated situation where, I'm assuming John Bolton, Mike Pompeo are telling Trump, no, you got to help the Saudis because the Saudis are against Iran, and the Iranian government is backing the Houthi rebels. The thing is, though, they haven't attacked us. Iran hasn't attacked us. The Yemenis, the Houthi rebels, haven't attacked us. But you know what country did attack us? Saudi Arabia. Or at least people from Saudi Arabia. They perpetrated 9/11. So, but no, we're going to be in the side of Saudi Arabia. The people who are spreading the most conservative, fundamentalist interpretation of Islam in the Middle East. Great. Now, it's a BS excuse, right? And of course, there's a big betrayal in that first sentence, and it shows why he's against it. He said it's a dangerous attempt to weaken my constitutional authorities, but you don't have that constitutional authority. You were given that because Congress refused to do their job, so they invoked the War Powers Act to actually get that back. What you're doing right now is unconstitutional. Now, the House and Senate both passed this bill that uses the War Powers Resolution of 1973, which gives Congress the power to remove military forces from a conflict from which there has been no formal declaration of war. So, look, and the fact that this is bipartisan is really important because 7 Republican senators have broke ranks with their party leaders, with Mitch McConnell. So credit where credit is due, right? There are some Republicans out there that don't believe that we should be backing Saudi Arabia in their genocide in Yemen, especially after they murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Sorry about that. So Trump, having ties to Saudi Arabia, decides he's going to continue to help Saudi Arabia with that genocide in Yemen. And that should be disastrous to anyone. It is a monstrous decision. Now, there are people out there that thought, oh no, Donald Trump, he's going to be an anti-war president. That didn't turn out that way. He can't help himself because he believes that I've got to be strong. I have to be strong. Well, how do I show that I'm strong? I know, I bomb people. That's what this is, right? So now he's gotten a lot of backlash, which he should. Senator Bernie Sanders first, who has long been critical of this conflict in Yemen, said this, quote, "I'm disappointed but not surprised that Trump has rejected the bipartisan resolution to end the U.S. involvement in the horrific war in Yemen. The people of Yemen desperately need humanitarian help, not more bombs." House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Trump has cynically chosen to contravene a bipartisan bicameral vote of Congress. She also said, "This conflict must end now. The House of Representatives calls on the president to put peace before politics and work with us to advance an enduring solution to end this crisis and save lives." So credit to Nancy Pelosi on this one. That is not credit that she gets often from me. But on this issue, she's on the right side. And so were those Republicans as well, including Mike Lee. Now, Senator Chris Murphy also condemned the move as a huge mistake, saying the civil war in Yemen is a humanitarian crisis and we have no business still being a part of it. I've been calling on the United States to get out of the civil war in Yemen for the last 4 years, and this veto won't stop me. So, now look, it's strong words, but unless you get more Republicans on your side to override a presidential veto, then unfortunately it stands. So, now, what's interesting about this story is some pro-Trump right-wingers, right, that are pushing back against this. One of them is an influencer named Cassandra Fairbanks. Now, she's famously noted as being a former Bernie Sanders person who switched over to supporting Donald Trump and supports, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, etc. Now, she said this, "You should pray God forgives you for this horror show in Yemen. And also, I'm kind of depressed Trump didn't drain the swamp. He hired it. Hashtag Yemen. Hashtag Julian Assange." So now that, again, I think that's in reference to John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, who are some of the biggest warmongers, neocons in the Trump White House. Look, I hate to say it, but man, I told you so. I told you this was going to happen. I know nobody believed us when we said, oh no, Trump only cares about himself. He's not actually an anti-war president. No, he's going to start wars or he's going to continue wars because he doesn't actually care. He doesn't care about being pro-peace. And in fact, war makes him look stronger. And look, you guys remember how the media, when he launched those attacks in Syria, the missile attacks on that Syrian airfield, what the media did in response. Come on, I think you had Tom, I forget his name. I don't want to get it wrong, right? But there was a journalist, supposed journalist, on, I think it was NBC News, who called the missiles beautiful. Numerous articles written about how this is the day that Trump became presidential, when he started launching missiles. We told you this was going to happen. And as far as Assange goes, you guys know how I feel about Assange. I'm not a fan of the guy because of his personal beliefs, but I believe that going after him in the way that they went after him, especially the Trump administration, but also by extension the Obama administration, who had started this first, not in favor of the way, and I think it harms press freedom going after Assange and WikiLeaks, especially when WikiLeaks had an incredible role is exposing war crimes for the United States. Donald Trump has shown he doesn't care about war crimes and that he's willing to continue to allow Saudi Arabia to continue war crimes. And it was Brian Williams, by the way. It was Brian Williams that said that. And it's disgusting. Now, on Assange, of course, once he stopped being useful to Donald Trump, he threw him under the bus. WikiLeaks, I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. You can go back and you can look at all that video of Trump talking about, look at the WikiLeaks. Look at the WikiLeaks. Well, when they were against Hillary Clinton, he loved WikiLeaks. And now they're no longer useful. I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. So, look, I know you guys were angry about Hillary Clinton, right? And I know she would have been terrible in Assange. She admitted to wanting to drone him. Why can't we just drone him? Well, that's horrible. But the fact is that 2016 was awful. We had no good choices. Oh, but Jeff, what about Jill Stein? Look, those of you who voted for Jill Stein, you guys knew she wasn't going to win. You guys knew that. I'm like, let's be honest about this, right? That's why it was a protest vote. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, that's why you said, I'm voting for my principal. You knew she wasn't going to win anyway. And yeah, we all kind of knew. Unfortunately, our two-party system is horrible. And it needs to go away. It needs to get fixed, right? So that we can actually have third parties that are viable. But we were stuck with two pro-war candidates. I don't blame you at all for going in another direction. Now, the difference is here is that for people like Cassandra, she fell for the lies. Trump was much more shameless about lying about his positions, especially when it comes to being anti-war. Oh, no, I love the WikiLeaks. I hate the wars in the Middle East. We got to stop those. Except now that I bombed Syria and I'm supporting the brutal regime in Saudi Arabia. No, the guy's a pathological liar. Never been on your side. He's always been for himself, and he always will be. And this is gross. I don't give Congress a lot of credit, especially when it comes to bipartisanship. But in this legislation, Congress actually did something right. They were led by progressives like Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders, and they were actually able to unite the anti-war left and anti-war right against that horrific conflict. And yet Trump decides to kill it. Because A, he has financial interest in Saudi Arabia, let's be honest about that. And B, he doesn't want anybody challenging his authority. Trump is a monster. And now, at least you guys are starting to understand that. And the blood of innocent Yemenis who are going to die going forward is now on Trump's hands. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.